Hi, my friends. Welcome back, finally, to Healing Together, a YouTube channel that is dedicated to God stories, testimonies of how God comes through in the midst of our turmoil. Today's video is going to be very special. I want to introduce to you Dan and Kathy. They are personal friends of Debbie's and mine. They have been since we were teenagers. One of the very first visits that Debbie and I made as a married couple was to Dan and Kathy's home, where we stayed for a couple days while Dan was stationed at Grissom in the Air Force. We were young, my friends, and we were married. Debbie and I married calendar-wise just before them. And age-wise, Debbie and I think we're a little bit older than them, but we have been friends really for a lifetime, I would say. Today, we are going to have fun. We are going to hear about how they met and some of their feelings when they did meet, and we're going to have fun. There's going to be some laughing and there's going to be some cutting up. And so let's have fun. And let's hear how God put their marriage together and how He took them. This first video is going to end with them moving from Indiana, where Kathy lived in Michigan. She's going to tell us, but Dan was from Indiana, and Kathy attended church in Indiana. So we're all right on the border between Indiana and Michigan. Probably on the border of other things too, but right now for the state. So let's have fun today and have that. Stick around for the end, and I'm going to give you an update that we received just today before I made this video about one of our previous interviews, some really great news. And so I'm going to give you that update when we get done. And I'm also going to update you on what's going on in my life. So I greatly would appreciate it. Again, if you would hit that subscribe button, if you would hit that like button and the notifications, all of this helps us to get the word out to the world about really how good a God we serve. And we will hear the fun stuff today, but tomorrow we're going to get in, or on Friday actually, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, and we're going to see, yeah, God's working, but sometimes it's not always that easy to get through it. So, my friends, thank you for stopping by. Again, hit that like button, and let's hear how Dan and Kathy met, and let's hear some of that story. And I just think you're really going to enjoy it. Thank you again for stopping by. Here's Dan and Kathy.
Well, I grew up in Elkhart. I went to church there, accepted the Lord as my Savior when I was 12, although church I was attending, I think I accepted the Lord probably 40 million times. All those things that were going.
Absolutely.
You believed, but I grew up in a good home. I am middle of three brothers. I'm the second youngest, but the middle of the three. My sister being the oldest. And then I have an older brother, younger brother. Grew up in Elkhart, in the area, and then Kathy's one sister had started attending our church, her and her husband, and she came one summer and visited. And I was 14, she was 12 when we first met. And I was infatuated with her.
There we go.
At that time. So up until we didn't see, I think maybe a couple times in there that she came and visited. And then around 16 or so, I got my license, and I called and see if she could go out on a date with me. Her mom and dad said no, because they'd never met me. I still don't remember how we got together, but somehow we got together in there, and then we were able to go out on a date. First time we went out on a date, we kind of went on a weekend with her brother and sister-in-law to her, I think it was her grandparents' lake house. And after the weekend was done, we didn't like each other, went our separate ways. But somehow, miraculously, we got back together during that time. Went to a lot of the Southern Gospel Sings at the Moore Civic Auditorium.
That was our dates.
That was our dates, a lot of our dates and stuff. And then there's some things there. We still had a difficult time there. We departed ways. I won't go into that side of the story. But she ended up calling me one night because I had I had been dating this other girl. Her name was Kathy, by the way. And we ended up, I had ended up breaking up with her. Well, she broke up with me that night because she wanted to go back to her ex-boyfriend. And Kathy had called that night. My dad answered the phone and said, Kathy called. Well, first he thought it was the other Kathy and thought I was on my way. Well, then my wife now was mad that I was dating somebody else and not waiting on her, which I thought was funny because you really didn't care about me that much. Well, anyway, she had asked me to go with her on a thing at her church.
And why?
For a Christmas dinner, because there was a particular individual. I won't name names. That was
Thank you.
competitive, like her competition. So they ended up. We ended up going that same night that she called, which I know was a God thing. 2 weeks later, we went to this party, and she seen this particular individual making some advances, and she started making advances on me, and I thought, well, I thought you weren't interested in me. Long story short, 2 weeks after that, we were engaged, and 5 months later, we were married.
Not the brightest way to do things.
So, Kathy, share with us, growing up, where you were, and then you can rebut his story if you'd like.
I was raised in Buchanan, Michigan, and I gave my heart to the Lord when I was 5 years old, and it was for keeps. And I was raised on a mini farm, and I loved it. I loved being raised out. And to Dan's story, I called him that night because he was the cutest guy I knew, and I didn't want to go by myself. And I told him that I would pay my own way if he just took me. And then I saw a friend at church making eyes at him, and I thought, not this one. You're not getting this one. But I believe that was all part of God's plan even back then, as silly, stupid as we were. I would not recommend getting married as quickly as we did. There was some getting used to each other. It was hard. I would not, no, that was not the way to do it. But God had a plan anyway.
So you were married in 75.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you went right into work, had a couple kids. Life was bliss.
I wouldn't call it bliss. We were going to wait 5 years to have any kids because I really didn't kind of care for kids. I mean, I was only 17, you know. I was a kid. So we were going to wait 5 years. I thought that was a good stall. And we were married 6 months, and I thought I had the flu. And I went to the doctor, and I said, you have got to give me something for this flu. I cannot stop throwing up. And he asked me some personal questions, and I thought, well, that's a stupid way to treat the flu. And he said, I think you're about to enter motherhood. And I said, I can't. And he said, why? And I said, because I don't want to. And he said, well, it happens to the best of us. And his name is Seth. So that virus, he told me that virus was going to be around for a while. But there again, God knew exactly what he was doing, because it wasn't about me anymore. And I started to grow up. Not quickly, but I started to grow up.
But they had told us that she was pregnant, and then they called a week later and said, no, she's not pregnant.
Yeah,
and we were
really
disappointed. And then they called back and said, no, we did make a mistake. She definitely is pregnant. So it was kind of a roller coaster there. But yeah.
And then you were in the Air Force
I was
at
in the
that
Air
time.
Force.
He was in the Air Force at that time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, of course, our channel is about glorifying God with our stories. So, slide ahead then. You had Amber. We don't want to leave Amber out. So,
Yeah, 5 years later.
Yeah, 5 years later, you had Amber. Did learn how to wait 5 years. So,
Well, you know what? There's a story in that too, because I weighed 138 and a half when I delivered Seth, and 2 days later I was down to like 92. That's not good. And I looked like a skeleton, and I was sick. I was sick after I had him. And it took me 4 years to gain 10 pounds. And when I found out that I was expecting Amber, it scared me bad, because I thought, oh, I can't do this again. I'm just now starting to feel good. And right after I had her, I felt amazing. And then I wanted more, and Dan said,
So tell the story of going to Illinois. Either of you can start. However you want to talk about that situation.
Well, it was 1990. We were in Warsaw, and I was in the copper industry, and I gave up my job in management because we had been through a buyout, and I would have eventually lost my job. So I decided a friend of ours decided to hire me to do something that was different than what I was doing. So I went to work for him. Long story short, it didn't work out, and so I was unemployed. Well, a friend of ours from church said, hey, Service Master is hiring. And so I interviewed. Next thing I know is they hired me, not knowing that I would be hired to go on a corporate office in Downers Grove, Illinois. And again, another career change up to that time. And so that was 1990. So, and then we ended up moving there, and just as clear as we knew that we were talking about earlier, that we knew it was a God thing for us to go there. Just as clear as we're talking, that's how clear it was to Kathy and I to go, not knowing that our world would fall apart shortly after we got there. So.
And your move there, you talk about being clear on going. There was prophetic words said over you at your going away party.
Mm-hmm.
Share a little bit of that story.
Well, the going away party was after a Sunday night service, and my mom and dad were there. Several people were there. It was pretty full. It wasn't a large church, but it was probably 150 people or so there. It was tough because we had been part of the church for 8 years and actively involved in the church. But a message in tongues and interpretation was given, and whether you believe in it or not, I know it's real, but it was so powerful, and we knew it was a God thing, that God was allowing this time for us to go. And I see now, just to put this in there, I see now, had we not gone, I don't think we ever would have been gone through the growing experience in our walk with the Lord like we have. I would never want to go back there, believe you me. But I also know that God, it was our proving ground that Kathy and I have talked about many times. That was our place where we grew up in our faith, even though it was hell on earth for the first couple years, but we knew God had brought us there. So God knew what he was doing, even though we didn't think it was. And then we thought, well, did you mean Downers Grove, Illinois? Or did you mean Downers Grove somewhere other state? Because maybe we missed the state. But as the years went on, we realized that this is where God had sent us. So,
Kathy, you were on board with it?
I kind of had to be.
Absolutely, but I mean, what was going through your mind
When we moved,
when you moved? The whole job change.
when we heard the message in tongues at the party that clearly said, "Let them go. This is my will for them." You can't get much clearer than that. We thought, "Oh, this is it." And when we pulled into Downers Grove, we saw a sign. Now, remember, this is 1990. We saw this sign that said, "Lots, 59,000 and up." Dan turned sheet white, and he said, that includes the house, right? That was our first hit. And I remember thinking, maybe we missed God's will. Maybe this wasn't his plan at all. Maybe this isn't where we're supposed to be. You know, all those doubts come in. And we rented a house for more than, it was double. Well, it was 3 times the cost of living from Indiana. That was our first major wake up. And they knew that we didn't know that, and they kept us on Indiana wages in Illinois. So we were behind the 8 ball right to begin with. It was not good. So the house that we finally found to rent in Downers Grove was double the amount that we paid for our house, our mortgage in Indiana. And we were renting for a while, and Seth met a kid at school that was to help him get assimilated in the classes, and his name was Matthew West. I don't know if you've known that name. He's a singer now. So Matt showed Seth all around. Seth didn't know that he went to church right away. He didn't know that his dad was a pastor. And I guess Matt and Seth were talking, and they found out, well, geesh, we're the same denomination. And found out where we lived, where we were renting, and we were only, 2 or 3 blocks away from the church. So we started going to Pastor Joe West and Sharon's church, and I ended up being Pastor West's secretary part-time. And but it was hard. It was hard because Dan worked from 3 in the afternoon till 3 in the morning, was service master, and we didn't make enough to live there in Illinois. So I had to work 2 part-time jobs plus the part-time job of the secretary of the church. But God knew exactly where we needed to be, because I don't think I could have made it at all without Pastor West and Sharon. Will never know how they held me together and held Amber and Seth when we needed them the most. And it was just a God thing all the way around, even though it was, I'm jumping ahead of the story, but because of the 3 in the afternoon until 3 in the morning, and me working the 2 part-time jobs plus the 1 at the church, our worlds started to change drastically, because Satan looks for any opportunity he can to slip in.
Yes, he does.
And he did. And we didn't see it coming.
Well, that's where we're going to end it for the day. Thank you so much for coming by and for watching our video. Dan and Kathy, Debbie and I really appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. It's amazing how the story goes from here and how God works in their lives. Make sure you come back on Tuesday and hear the next part of the story. It's probably going to be a 4-part at least story of what they have been through and how Satan attacked and how God has performed miracles in their lives. I want to share with you an update. I told you at the beginning of the video we would update you from one of our previous interviews. If you have watched Angie's and Chip's story, you have heard a story of a young lady that has had cancer and fought cancer at that point, which would be almost 6 months ago. She has fought cancer for well over 6 years. In fact, it might be about 7 years as we make this video. Today we heard that her numbers are good enough. God is answering prayers, and her numbers are good enough. They were able to suspend chemotherapy, and they're going to be able to give her body a rest. So I just cannot tell you how big a praise that is that we get to witness that. We have not had the opportunity to get together with Chip and Angie yet. Debbie and I have actually been sick, and then I had this surgery. So we have not been able to connect, and I'm hoping next week we can connect with them. So we hope to get a video made of an update, and we'll see how that works out. And so I just wanted to share with you, many of you have talked to me about that specific interview, and I just am praising the Lord. Debbie and I both broke out into worship this morning. It is such good news to know what God is doing in their lives. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. In my life, we are progressing very well. My recovery is coming along very good. It's been 2 weeks yesterday that we had knee replacement surgery. The swelling is going down. The wound is healing. I am able to walk some. I'm able to do my physical therapy. There is not a lot of pain. And so I just thank you for the prayers and the encouragement. People have called. People have texted me. They have emailed me. And I just can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your love in my life. My friends, thank you for stopping by. Tuesday, we're going to go into a season of chaos in Dan and Kathy's life, turmoil. It is not a fun time for them. There will not be much laughing on Tuesday, but there will be a lot of victory. So come along and come back on Tuesday. Again, let me ask you, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you don't know how to do that, please find out, because by not doing that, it's limiting how our channel gets out onto YouTube. So we want to glorify God with God's stories. So if you would, please make that happen. I would so appreciate it. If you would, please share the stories on your social media pages. I know there's a lot of them out there, more than I can count. I generally stick to Facebook, but if whatever you can share it on, please share our channel, and we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you, my friend, for coming and hearing our story today. We look forward to seeing you back here on Tuesday. Thank you for stopping by. God bless.